The following program is a work of satire and is intended for entertainment purposes only. No identification with actual persons, living or deceased, places, buildings, or products is intended or should be inferred. And now, the Rusty Stubblefield for President show, featuring world-renowned raconteur, grief counselor, and unemployed auto mechanic, the Reverend Rusty Stubblefield, sharing his unhinged views about politics, religion, and just about anything else that comes to his mind in the moment. In the year of our Lord 2026, Reverend Rusty Stubblefield looks forward to celebrating the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, one great nation under God, under the leadership of the crypto king-in-chief himself, President Donald J. Trump.
I'd like to thank y'all for listening to my show. I'd like to thank y'all for listening to my show. We's all got a point of view. I like sharing mine with you. Thank y'all for listening to my show. Rusty Stubblefield for president.
Howdy, y'all, and welcome to the Rusty Stubblefield for President show. Before as I get started, in case y'all forgot, just a friendly reminder that I ain't running for no political office. That's just a bunch of fake news being spread by the local news media here in Hogs Head Holler. To the contrary, in point of fact, I's running away from elections, and as far away as I can get. Many years ago, the town fathers in the holler wanted me to run for dog catcher, but I done told them, no, thank you, ma'am. See you later, alligator. Besides, as a reverend, with all the funerals I sermonize at, I's much more suited to be elected cemetery commissioner. When you's constituents is dead folk, you don't get too many complaints about the job you're doing. Well, my friends and listeners, today's sermon is a moment of truth for y'all. I was going to come right out and tell y'all something real important. And while it may be hard for some of y'all to hear and accept, I was going to give you the truth right between your pretty little eyes. We here in this great US of A is under siege. That's right. Little old you and me is under attack. We's being invaded. But don't go jumping to no conclusions right now, 'cause it ain't who you think it is. Or maybe it is, depending on your thought process. Yes, sir, we's under assault. But this time, my friends, it ain't by no enemy combatants, no foreign countries, or none of them domestic terrorists from Minneapolis. It ain't no attack by liberals or commies. It ain't no Antifa, whatever that the hell is. It ain't no Arabs or no Jews. It ain't no people of color. It ain't no Somalis. It ain't no banana Republicans from Mexico or Venezuela neither. Last but not least, it ain't no aliens from outer space. Right now, them Martian fellers is just too damn busy preparing for us to invade them. From what I hear, the purpose of said invasion is to get all them there rare earth metals they's been stockpiling up there. Shit, wouldn't it be all too convenient a story if and there were some fellers from outer space actually threatened to invade the USA, wouldn't it? But right now, if and Donald Trump himself made up a story like that, I don't reckon that even he could convince his MAGA base it was true. You see, right now, Trump's got major credibility issues because he's been doubling down on the rhetoric, supporting them there ICE agents who killed those two innocent young folk in Minneapolis. It's hard to lie when they's got both murders on tape. Allow me to digress for a minute to circumnavigate round my point. Ever since that there Cold War, you know, that there war against communism after we finished off the damn Nazis in World War II, well, ever since that there Cold War, the U.S. government has been conditioning us Americans to be scared of some insidious groups lurking behind the woodwork. Our government leaders is always trying to get us to believe that a radical group would take over our country from within. Back in the 1950s and 60s, it were them there Russians they was trying to convince us was the bad guys. They's called that period in U.S. history the Red Scare. Red Scare sounds so Russian, don't it? Like that there Red Square in Moscow. Anywho, the commie flag is red, just like them there MAGA hats. Makes me wonder if Trump ain't no commie 'cause he wears a red hat. Back in them there prehistoric 1950s, if you was a commie sympathizer, you was the enemy. You was blackballed, an outcast, a pariah. Way back then, some folks lost their jobs and careers for just being accused of being a commie. Other folk, like that nice Jewish couple from New York, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, they was executed based on allegations they was commie synthesizers. Today, you don't even need to be accused of nothing before you get executed. You can just be sitting in your car, minding your own business like Renee Good was on the day she was murdered by the ICE Stapo in Minneapolis, or like that there male nurse feller Alex Preddy, who was just trying to assist a gal who was thrown to the ground by ICE Stapo agents and then was shot 10 times causing his death. My, have times changed. Now we've got our own Nazi stormtroopers right here in this here US of A. I guess we Americans should feel lucky that we've been able to avoid the inevitable for the last 250 years. Back in them there prehistoric days of the 1950s, there was a feller named Joseph McCarthy, a senator from Wisconsin. That there McCarthy feller was on a mission to expose, purge, and crucify commies here in the US of A. He believed, and had many good old Americans like you and me also convinced that, all commie sympathizers was enemies of the state, and that all commies was spies selling government secrets even if the government had no evidence against them. Now, pardon me, but since I just used the word crucify in this here sermon, I needs to digress for a moment to clarify that Jesus wasn't the only human being that was ever crucified. There's been many others like him, like them there Rosenbergs, for example, I just spoke about, and that poor sweet little Joan of Arc, and Minnesota mother of three, Renee Good, and finally that there ICU nurse, Alex Preddy. What makes Jesus so special is that he was able to come back from the dead to spare the rest of us of all of our suffering. I would sure like it if Renee Good and Alex Preddy would come back from the dead to seek their own revenge against these murderers. Anywho, before I start scaring the living daylights out of you all, this here is a right opportune time to listen to one of them E-Dude X musical experiments. Today, I's going to be resting my vocal cords and let them fellers in the Electric Love Orchestra carry the workload without me. Our first piece is entitled Concerto for Harpsichord and the Kitchen Sink, First Movement. E-Dude X himself does a heck of a job playing that there harpsichord on this one. Ain't too easy to find a harpsichord these days, being that that's one of them there prehistoric instruments. Enjoy the music, and I'll be right back with the rest of my sermon. Golly, weren't that right pleasant to listen to? Makes me want to book a flight on one of them there Elon Musk SpaceX rockets to go back in time to see what the future holds in store for us folks. Anywho, way back in the 20th century, commie sympathizers was the enemy from within. In McCarthy's eyes, they was traitors. And he knew if he could convince Americans that they was traitors, he could grab plenty of power. He and a bunch of his fanatical supporters, kind of like them MAGA folks are today, formed what they's called the House Un-American Committee. Ironically, what that there McCarthy feller was doing was the only un-American thing going on back then. He mostly persecuted them there Hollywood types and playwrights and authors, same types Trump is scapegoating and persecuting today. Come to think of it, that there Humphrey Bogart, one of my favorite actors. You know, Bogart was the fella who played good old American gangsters in movies. He was one of McCarthy's primary targets. McCarthy even attacked that there silent film comedian Charlie Chaplin, even though during the Second World War, Chaplin made movies to expose Adolf Hitler and the Nazis for these crimes against humanity. Strange how someone who was a hero for fighting against the Nazis in the 1940s later became labeled as a traitor commie in the 1950s and was told to leave this here US of A. He didn't need no deportation orders from the government. In a blink of an eye, Charlie Chaplin just picked up his marbles and left on his own accord. I wish I had the gumption to do that myself. I'm surprised that there ain't more Americans leaving this here US of A today. I just hope it ain't too late to get out when we get to having a full dictatorship under that there Trump feller. History has a strange way of repeating itself, like a bad case of indigestion. Like I said earlier in my sermon, historically governments like ours always need scapegoats to blame shit on. In the 1930s, Hitler blamed all the shit that was going wrong in Germany on the Jews. People like Hitler and Trump need to create enemies and adversaries to frighten people so that the people can think that these countries' leaders is protecting them from something scary that can hurt them. That's how fellers like that there Trump and his cronies stays in power today. Anywho, by now, if you still with me, you's probably still in suspense and asking yourself, who is we being attacked by? Well, since y'all have come this far in today's sermon, I's about to tell y'all. Here it is. Ironically, it's our own United States government. Under this here Trump administration, the United States of America is the enemy. But I guess by now you already surmised that that's what I was going to say. But it is the truth. It is the president and all the president's men who is attacking us. We don't need to think about being attacked by other countries no more or by no interplanetary aliens. With Trump at the helm, we've got our own government to do it for him. If we Americans is going to be attacked, why not keep it all in the family? Ask yourself, wouldn't you rather be attacked by your own government than by some foreign government? I, for one, don't want no foreign culture shoved down my throat. Can't see eating dog meat like the Chinese do or drinking vodka like the Russians. I'm going to stick with a cheeseburger and fries and wash it down with a six-pack of Miller Lite. Anywho, it is sure more efficient and less expensive to be attacked by your own country. And the best part of it all is you'll get to see your own tax dollars at work. Well, it's that time again for yet another musical experiment by E. Dude X. This one's called Bebop. Even though it ain't really no bebop, it's kind of jazzy in an odd way. I hope the fellers in the Electric Love Orchestra is ready for y'all. Enjoy, and I'll be right back with the rest of my sermon. Golly, wasn't that fun to listen to? That E-Dude X feller is sure one heck of a versatile composer. In closing, them there people in Minneapolis who's being invaded by them there ICE agents sure knows firsthand what it's like to be shot at and gassed. And they's paying for the privilege of having they's own city being invaded with they's own tax dollars. Them there people in them blue states who did not vote for Trump in the 2024 election, they's all going to be invaded by ICE sooner or later. Mark my words. Americans shooting at Americans. Americans are killing Americans in cities and towns across this here United States. There ain't no better way I can think of to see my tax dollars being better spent. Who needs to put boots on the ground in a foreign country when we can be invading cities and attacking people right here on our good old American soil? Come to think of it, might just be that this here is that their new civil war they's all been talking about. Us Americans don't need to start no new wars against people in foreign countries when there's plenty of people we can attack right here. Why take Greenland by force when we's got Minneapolis? Why fight a protracted war in Iran when we's got Chicago? We's got enough Somalians and Iranians right here in the US of A to make her all worthwhile. I know that them there MAGA Republicans are willing to give it they's best shot. I was wondering what would happen if U.S. citizens would stop paying these federal taxes. Would the attack on America by Donald Trump stop? I would like to think so. Well, as I say at the end of each of my weekly sermons, if you and me put our pretty little heads together, we may still be able to figure out how to get this here US of A back on track. Thank y'all for listening.
I'd like to thank y'all for listening to my show. I'd like to thank y'all for listening to my show. We's all got a point of view. I like sharing mine with you. Thank y'all for listening to my show. Rusty Stubblefield for president.